How long have you been in Folkestone working on this triennial?
Well, they appointed me in January 2012, so it's 2.5 years.
Okay, and whose idea was the theme of Lookout?
That was my idea.
That was your idea. Where did it come from?
Well, it came to me after I started researching, getting to know Folkestone, and it's really about the geography of Folkestone. That wherever you go, actually, there's another story attached to that, which is that triennials and biennials, very often the map gets a lot of criticism. People really can't use the maps. So I thought, well, how do we tackle that? We make an exhibition that doesn't need a map. We'd make an exhibition where you can see the next outdoor artwork. From each artwork, you can always see the next one. So you don't need a map, you just walk from one to the next. So that was partly what suggested the idea of Lookout. But what I really liked about the Lookout is that it's part of Folkestone's history as being a seaside port where ships have lookouts on them, ports have lookouts on them, cliffs, but also the idea of seeing. I mean, Lookout is about seeing. It's about the future. You know, if you're a lookout, you're waiting for something to happen. It's about expectation. I think emotion is a very important part of art. And if we're waiting for something to happen, we are hopeful, we're also fearful. We're on that edge between not knowing what is going to come over the horizon. And that's a great state of awareness in which to look at art. So I'm hoping that people have that sense of awareness as they go around. Also, I hope that artists are about imagination. The imagination is about what isn't there yet, but could be there. And so the imagination and the future are intimately linked from that point of view. So Lookout is a place from which to activate the imagination.
I was going to ask how broadly the theme has been interpreted, and you've mentioned fear already, which I know Emma Hart is responding to and the Wither Veins are responding to.
I did generate the Lookout theme or title because that was a part of my brief as the curator. But I didn't ask artists to respond to it. What I did was I chose artists whose work I thought already fitted within that, whose practice could already address, or does already address, the kind of issues which I'm interested in. So I think if you ask artists to do something which is not their usual practice, it's very risky. I mean, maybe they enjoy the challenge and they do something extraordinary, but more often than not, they feel a bit out of touch and a bit out of kilter with what they're doing. So I did try to find out, there's enough challenges out there already for the artists to have to deal with because they're dealing with the real world. So I tried to choose artists who would welcome that kind of challenge within their normal practice.
So all of the artists are artists that you specifically approached and commissioned?
Yes, with the exception of the partner organisations, Up Projects and Situations and Christchurch, Canterbury University, and Strange Cargo doesn't really count because they did their own work. But in the case of those other, and Turner Contemporary, those organisations came to me with a short list of artists, and we discussed them and agreed which was the right artist to work with. But with 21 artists or 21 projects, I can't work that closely with any given artist. I had to spread the work around other organisations and to my wonderful, wonderful project managers who've done all the work and making everything happen.
Were the artists, did you give them the specific locations for their work? Was that part of the commission, or were they allowed to choose a place that they felt they could respond to?
No, I asked the artist to respond to a specific place. I just think that's the curator's job. You know, if you're making a group exhibition as in a gallery, you know which part of the gallery you're going to ask an artist to work in, and it's the same with a city. If you allow the artist to make the decision, very often, and because I've done that in the past, very often they choose places which are impossible. And with some artists, I remember going through 5 or half a dozen different places before we came up with one which was going to work. If I research the places and propose it to them, then they can turn it down. But if it works, then I know that I can see it through. So it's much more important that I do the work and help them realise the art.
How different is it for you in Folkestone than it was working in Liverpool on the Biennial there?
Well, it's different. It's a much smaller place. Folkestone has 1/10 of the population of Liverpool. And everybody knows everybody else in Folkestone, which isn't quite the case, although Liverpool's a bit of a village as well. I mean, I think the fact that Folkestone is only 1 hour from London makes it much easier for artists who work outside the UK to feel they can come to because getting in and out from London is, internationally speaking, is relatively easy. Folkestone is a port city which is down on its luck in the same way that Liverpool is a port city that's down on its luck. Admittedly, Liverpool was mainly a commercial port, whereas Folkestone was mainly a passenger port, and that's a bit of a difference. But in both instances, it means you've got a population who are very used to different cultures coming in and out. So there's an openness of mind in Folkestone and Liverpool, which you might not find in a market town in Bedfordshire or whatever. There's always lots of challenges, and there are artists. Alex Hartley, for instance, his first proposal we were not able to realise because the circumstances changed. But that's. I mean, I know that it's always a challenge working with real life. It's not a gallery. You can't control it. So, in Hamilton Findlay's work on the lighthouse, my original hope was that people would walk down to the lighthouse and see it. And when you're out there at the lighthouse, you look back at Folkestone, nearly half a mile away, and it gives you a very particular experience about being at sea and about the weather and about what it's like to be offshore and the energy of the tides and the wind and the light and all the other things. So I was hoping people would have that experience. And lo and behold, the harbour arm is closed by the contractors, so nobody can go down there. So we've put up a telescope so everyone will be able to see the Inn Hamilton Findlay using one of those traditional seaside penny in the slot type telescopes, and that gives you a different experience. I think it's still very interesting, and I think it's still an experience Ian would have enjoyed, but it's not the experience I was expecting in the first place. So challenges, yes, but nothing unexpected.
And it still fits with the theme of Lookout.
It still fits very well with the theme of Lookout. Yes.
So overall you're happy with how it's all turned out?
Oh, I'm delighted. Yes.